Good day, we are group number 3. Our topic is the elasticity of demand and supply. I am Vanessa Lynn Chavez and my group mates are Renalyn Cruzat, Malinao, Arvy Sadiwa, and Kimberly Malinao. On your screen, you can see different pictures of goods and brands. On your right are eggs, water, grains, metal, cotton. Will you still buy these no matter what the price are? While on your left, you can see Dior, Gucci, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, YSL. Is your demand for these goods sensitive to price? So moving on, these questions will be answered as you listen to our report. What are the objectives of our report? First is to understand the concept of elasticity of demand and supply, differentiate the arc and point elasticity, compute elasticity values of demand and supply with given changes in price and quantity. Distinguish the different degrees of elasticity of demand and supply, apply the concept of elasticity to various economic situations, and recognize the value of elasticity in relation to a seller's revenue. Here are the terms to remember. First is arc elasticity. It is the coefficient of price elasticity of demand between 2 points along with the demand curve. The coefficient of elasticity will always be in absolute value. Complementary goods. These are goods that supplement each other and are used together. While cross elasticity of demand measure the percentage change in quantity demand of one good compared with the percentage change in the price of another good. Elasticity. It is the responsiveness of demand or supply to a change in its determinant. Angle curve. It is a curve depicting the quantities of a good the customer is willing to buy at all income level. Income elasticity of demand measure the percentage change in quantity demand compared with the percentage change in income. Inferior goods. These are goods which are bought when income levels are low, the demand of which tends to decrease when income increases, while normal goods are goods for which demand tends to increase when income increases. Price elasticity. It is the percentage change in quantity compared with the percentage change in the price. Point elasticity is the coefficient of price elasticity of demand at one point along the demand curve. Prestige good. These are goods bought for the status and prestige they give for the consumer. Good day, we are group number 3. Our topic is the elasticity of demand and supply. I am Vanessa Lynn Chavez and my group mates are Renalyn Cruzat, Malinao, Arvy Sadiwa, and Kimberly Malinao. On your screen,
Price elasticity of demand is degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price. It is measured by dividing the percentage change in price. Meron tayong dalawang ways para measure natin ang price elasticity of demand, which are arc elasticity and point elasticity. Makikita nyo sa table ang example. Table for it is market demand for 4 period of 1 day. So point A, the price is 30 pesos and so the demand and kilo is 120. At point B is 35 kilos of demand becomes 100 kilos. Point C is 40 then 80 kilos and point D is 45 then the demand is 50 kilos. So an example, to get elasticity coefficient from point B to C, we get the quantity of demand change in quantity of demand 100 minus 80 divided by 100% is equal to 20%, while the change in price is 40 minus 35 divided by 55, which is equal to 14.3%. Because the elasticity of coefficient, we will divide it the change in quantity demanded, while change in price, which will give us 1.4, since is a greater than 1, the change elastic, so ever less than 1, it will be an inelastic, and if it is equal to 1, it will be rotary. Next is arc elasticity. Arc elasticity is the coefficient of the price elasticity of demand between 2 points along the demand curve. If you can see in your screen, the formula for the arc elasticity where the AQ is change in quantity of demand while AP is change in price is the coefficient preceded by a negative sign because of the inverse relationship between Q and P and the degree of responsiveness of demand change in price. Only absolute value of the coefficient is considered moving on point elasticity. Point elasticity is elasticity of one point demand curve. The formula of point elasticity is equal to A divided by Q over A P divided by P. An example would be getting the point of elasticity from point B to C. Reference of substituting the values to the formula, we will get the point elasticity is equal to 7.0. Therefore, demand is elasticity. Point elasticity is more exact that an arc elasticity is measured only one point to the demand curve, such as point, and now we can see the point, so yun lang yung mini-measure that of point elasticity. While in the arc elasticity, we have point P and D. At ang commodities and their elasticities, more essential, the more essential a good is the more inelastic demand. Ang ibig sabihin nito, pag ang isang goods ay important at kailangan sa ating pamumuhay, masasabi natin na inelastic demand if it is less than a necessity. We can see it is more elastic demand. So here are the example of elastic and inelastic and rotary. So first example of goods with elasticities less than 1. So there are inelastic. These are goods that are essential life na ito. Yung goods na hindi pwedeng mawala sa ating pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay. Na makita nyo dyan sa infant formula na kailangan ng mga bibiyan, lalo na kung kaunti ang breast milk. Electricity, palay, rice, sugar, water, medicine para sa mga nag-maintenance. A decreasing price will not benefit the producer. If a goods are inelastic, it will result to decrease in total revenue. So here, we have original price of 6. Mababang presyo siya, essential siya, necessary siya. So the original demand na 2,000, wala naman siyang na-change. Tataas yung quantity demand kapag bumaba ang presyo. So makikita natin ang total revenue na 12,000 ay magiging 8,400 na hindi nakabubuti sa mga nagpo-produce ng mga goods and elastics na pagbaba ng presyo. Conversely, if it is increase in price will benefit the producer, it will result in increase in total revenue. If original price is 6, tumataas siya ng isa, bumaba ang quantity demand. Makita natin yung total revenue ay tumaas kasi bibili natin pa rin siya ng mga consumer. Next, now proceed to elastic. These goods have elasticity greater than 1. So what are the sample of them? We have luxury perfume, luxury shoes, sports car, chocolate, and expensive one na madalas na pang regalo sa lalo. So decrease in price will benefit the seller. Bakit magiging result? Kasi ito na mas mataas na demand at mas mataas na total revenue para sa mga seller. For example, if the original price niya ay 6, bumaba siya ng isa, kaya naging 5 na lang yung kanyang original quantity na 2,000, ay tataas, magiging 2,500. So, it is makikita na natataas ang total revenue sa point ng seller. For example, ay yung iPhone sa unang release niya, sobrang mahal. After few months, pagbagsak ng presyo, mas marami yung bibili. So, an increase in price will not benefit the seller. Will result to decrease in demand and the total revenue. Kapag tumaas ang presyo, hindi na magbe-benefit ang seller kasi bababa ang kanyang demand. At total revenue ay yung original price na 6, naging 7, bababa naman ng 500 ang kanyang quantity demand niya, at pagbaba ng kanyang total revenue. And now, let's proceed to goods with elasticity is equals to 1. Unitary goods is, ito yung mga goods na maski walang nagbibigay ng convenient sa buyer. Example, motorcycle, rice cooker, pwede naman magsayang sa kaldero. Air conditioner, pwede naman mag-electric fan, or kung malamig ang panahon. And then we can see here, buyer thinking fabric softener, neither an increase nor decrease in price will affect the seller's total revenue. So, bumababa man o tumaas man ang presyo nila, halos walang siyang magbabago, halos walang effect yon sa total revenue. Kasi kapag bumaba ang presyo, tataas ang demand, at kapag tumaas ang presyo, bababa ang demand. Kaya same lang sila. Kaya in reality, itong unitary ay hindi nangyayari. It's either elastic or inelastic.
Substitution and price elasticity of demand. Substitution and price elasticity of demand is a degree of substitution between a product and related product that determine its price elasticity. The extent of substitution of the substitution effect. There are three factors of substitution. First is a number of competing product. There is more market for a product to gain or lose. Kung ang price niya ay bababa or tataas, mas makakabenta ang nagtitinda kung ang presyo ay mas mababa kumpara sa kanyang mga competition product. Especially true when the products are homogeneous in type and quality. Example ng mga products sa grocery store, supermarket, and etc. In this factor, we can say that the demand is price elasticity. The second factor is the desirability of a product related to its substitution due to quality. It would be difficult for a product to lose its market share when its price increases if quality is a primary selling point. Ang example nito ay San Miguel Beer. Mas tumaas ang presyo niya since siya ang paborito ng mga manginginom, bibilin pa rin nila over competing product. The absence in substitution make the demand for a product highly price inelastic. Example naman nito ay Viagra. So, wala siyang kakompetensya kaya highly inelastic ang demand niya. The third factor is relative importance of consumers' needs. It determines the degree of substitution between the commodity items in the consumption basket. Ang example naman ito ay yung essential and non-essential. So, depende sa hierarchy needs ng consumer whether he or she identify the goods as essential or non-essential. Dito sa next figure, showing the earning and relation to substitution and inelastic. So, here in the figure, we can say that if the goods are elastic and there is an increase in price, there will be a decrease in the seller's total revenue. And if there is a decrease in price of the elastic goods, there will be an increase in the total revenue. So, if the goods are inelastic, there is a increase in price. There will also be an increase in total revenue. The reason why these are happening is because, for instance, if elastic yung good, pag tumaas ang presyo niya, the buyer or consumers will look at the substitute goods. So, hindi nila bibili ang produkto, instead, bibili nila yung substitute na good. Next is tax burden. When a good is sold, a sale tax has to be paid to the government on the sale of that commodity. Who between the buyer and seller shoulder the burden of tax? It depends on the degree of elasticity of the demand for that goods. Here in the figure, showing the hypothetical demand and supply curve of a cola drink with equal sharing of tax burden. So, dito sa figure, equal daw ang hatian ng tax burden between the seller and the buyer. So, ang manufacturing cost ng cola ay 5 pesos. But, due to the tax composed by government, which is equal to 100% of the cost, which is 5 pesos. So, additional 5 pesos siya. Dito sa example, naghati ang seller at buyer dun sa 5 pesos. So, 250 sila. Here in the next figure, the hypothetical demand and supply curve of a cola drink with a bigger tax burden for the seller. So, dito naman, mas mataas ang tax na binabayaran ng seller. This happen when the goods is elastic, meaning nakadepende sa presyo ng goods ang demand ng produkto na iyon. So, sa figure, makikita natin na 3 pesos ang binayad ng seller when the buyer is 2 pesos lang. Mas mataas yung binayaran ng seller kaysa dun sa buyer. Next is the hypothetical demand and supply curve of a cola drink with a bigger tax burden for the buyer. So, dito naman, mas malaki naman ang binayad ng buyer dito, which is 4 pesos, while the seller is 3 pesos. This happen when the good is inelastic, meaning necessity siya para sa mga buyers. Ito yung mga example ng maski tumaas ang presyo ng mga goods ay binibili pa rin sila.
Elasticity of demand. The coefficient of income elasticity of demand measures a product percentage and demand as a ratio of the percentage change in income, which caused the shift in demand curve. So, yung income elasticity of demand na may measure yung percentage ng isang product depende sa pagbabago ng percentage ng isang income. Absolutely value of the coefficient of income elasticity is a measure of how responsive demand is to change in income. As income increases, a coefficient of greater than 1, demand is elastic and good is superior. So kapag yung demand is elastic, yung good niya is nagiging superior. Less than 1, demand is inelastic and good is inferior. So kapag yung demand naman niya is inelastic, yung good niya is inferior. Equal 1, demand is unitary and good is normal. So kapag equal 1 siya, unitary siya. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya tumataas, hindi din siya bumababa. Engel's law. When income increases, the percentage that is spent for food tends to decrease. So, ayon daw kay Engel's law, kapag yung income daw ay tumaas, yung percentage na napupunta sa pagkain ay maaaring bumaba. Halimbawa, yung income ng isang tao is 10,000. Tapos yung budget niya para dun sa food is 5,000. So, kung sakali na yung income naman niya ay tumaas ng 20,000, yung mapupunta na budget dun sa pagkain is 5,000 pa rin. Kasi hindi naman lahat nung income niya is mapupunta lahat sa pagkain. Coefficient is less than 1, food is necessity. Increase in income goes mostly to the purchase of luxury items, education, travel, and leisure. If elasticity equals to 1, share of the product in the allocation of incremental or additional income is equal to its share in allocation of total income. If elasticity greater than 1, product gains important in the allocation incremental income. Some products lose importance because others do otherwise as income increases. So kapag daw nag-increase yung income, karamihan daw dun sa products ay bumababa yung halaga nila. Kasi maaaring kapag mababa pa yung income ng isang tao, maaaring yung product na yun yung lagi nilang binibili. So, kapag tumaas yung income, maaaring yung mga bagay o mga produkto na binibili nila dati, maaaring hindi naman yun yung bilhin nila. So, kapag yung income ay tumaas, yung ibang product o produkto ay nawawalan ng kahalagahan. Inferior goods, elasticity is less than 1. So, dito may table, analysis of income elasticity. Income elasticity, degree of demand, type of goods. So, yung sa income elasticity, ang nakalagay ay 2. Ang degree of demand niya ay elastic. Ang type of good naman niya ay normal luxury. Then, income elasticity ay 1.5. Degree of demand is elastic. Type of good, normal luxury. 0.75. Degree of demand is inelastic, normal necessity. 0.50 inelastic, normal necessity. 0.30 inelastic, inferior. 0.22 inelastic, inferior. So, kung mapapansin natin, dun sa income elasticity, is pababa siya. Kapag pababa yung income elasticity niya, yung degree of demand naman niya ay nagiging inelastic. At yung type of good niya is nagiging inferior. Coefficient is less than 1, food is necessity. Increase in income goes mostly to the purchase of luxury items, education, travel, and leisure. Is consumption line. Curve connecting points of tangency represents the consumption of the two commodities at varying levels of income. Upward is sloping from the point of origin of the graph. Increase in meat production accelerate for every unit increase in the consumption of dried fish. Meat is superior, dried fish is inferior. So, kapag yung meat ay superior, yung dried fish ay nagiging inferior. So, meat gains importance in the consumption basket as a substitute for dried fish as income increases. So, kapag yung income ay tumaas, yung meat nagiging superior siya. At yung dried fish nagiging inferior naman siya. Two underlying reasons for the change in relative importance of commodity. Gradual satisfaction of the consumer's hierarchy of needs from the basic to the non-basic. Theory of diminishing marginal utility. Cross-elasticity of demand. The coefficient of cross-elasticity of demand measures the percentage change in demand of good X which a shift of the demand curve in response to a percentage change in price of good. So, kapag nagbabago daw yung percentage ng demand, nagbabago din daw yung price ng good. Cross-elasticity of demand may have coefficient of greater than 1, less than 1, and equal 1, indicating demand sensitivity. If cross-elasticity of demand is positive, commodities X and Y are substitutes. If cross-elasticity of demand is negative, commodities X and Y are complements. The coefficient of the cross-elasticity of demand practically measures the degree of substitution or complementation between products. So, the conclusion is the negative sign of the coefficient means good X and Y are complements. Demand for good X is inelastic to the change in price of good Y. Cross-elasticity is less than 1.
Good morning everyone, I am Joycin Malinao and today we are going to talk about demand curves and elasticity, and for you to understand this topic very well, please listen carefully. And as you can see, there's a graph here and there are variables that I think already familiar to you, but now let me refresh it for you to understand very well. Again, the P stand for price, the D1 stand for demand, 1, and the quantity demand then stand for QD. So now, the D1 is relatively elastic. Change in price leads to significant change in quantity demanded. And this is the moment of truth to say and to give to you the best example. For example, we are selling banana Q in school, and that banana Q is have a price 10 pesos per each, and we have 30 students who want to eat banana Q every day. And one day, you change the price. The 10 pesos became 15 pesos. So, what do you think if there's a change in price? Yes, you're right. If there's a change in price, there's also change in demand. The 30 students will become 20, 10 or less because there is a change in price. And the price became 15, it's possible that the demand will become 20 or 10. So, in short, when there is change in price, there's always a change in demand. That is people behavior today. They want that price constant forever, but not in business. We should know the total expenses of our product. Sure, we're so very far from our parameters. So now let's move on for this graph. Let's move on to the next graph. And let's proceed to the next graph. Dito's relatively inelastic change in price leads to a very slight change in quantity demanded. It's very simple. Just listen carefully. We are going to focus on the best example in the graph 1. We have a product banana Q. So we have a 30 students who want banana Q. That is demand, and our price is 10 pesos. If that price change inelastic meaning less than 1, so our price here is 10. So when there is an elastic change in price, that 10 become 9, 8, 7, and meaning there also possibilities that the quantity demand will change very slight. If we have 30 students, that's 30 students become 31, 32, 33 because there's inelastic change in price. The price of banana Q now is 9, 8 or 8 pesos. The best is 8 pesos. And our demand now will become 35. So there is a very slight change in quantity demanded. And I think it's very clear to you. And now let's move on to the next graph, the D3. D3 is perfectly elastic. At a given price, quantity demanded can change infinitely. Infinitely means there's no end, there's no conclusion, endless. So we're going to focus the best example on the first graph, which is banana Q. We have banana Q price 10 pesos, and that is perfectly elastic. And it said that infinitely meaning our quantity demanded, it's possible neither will increase or decrease. So 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 infinitely. So it's very clear that our price is elastic. There is a change also in quantity demanded, neither decreases or increases. So I think it's very clear to you. Let's move on to the next slide. And now let's talk about the last graph and the demand curve and elasticity. The 4 is perfectly inelastic at a given price. Quantity demanded will remain the same. QD is equal to 0. Meaning, the price is 10, the quantity demanded or the D4 is perfectly inelastic. There's no change. Will remain the same. So 30, 30, 30. And our price is 10. That is possible in demand curve. And now let's move on to the next topic. And now let's proceed to our next topic, the price elasticity of supply. The coefficient of price elasticity of supply measures the percentage change in the quantity demanded of commodity compared to a percentage change in price of such commodity. So here we are going to talk about the graphs about the price and the supply. So the percentage of the price is our focus, and of course the supply. The difficulty is of increasing or decreasing the supply of goods determines its elasticity. When we say elastic supply, goods which are easy to manufacture, for example, those displayed foods in canteen, such as spaghetti, pancit, Shanghai, and etc. And when we say inelastic supply, those goods which are difficult to produce, just for example, ball pen, refrigerator, washing machine, and other things that are hard to produce in manufacturers. And this is the first graph in price elasticity of supply. And in this graph, P stand for price, S1 supply 1, and QS is quantity supplied. S1 is relatively elastic. A change in price result in a significant change in quantity supplied. For example, I am the banana maker and I have one supplier of Saba banana. Now, the price of 1 kilo of banana is 50 pesos. So, in this graph, it's very clear that the price is lower than we expect. So, the supply of Saba banana that I'm going to avail is higher. So, for example, I'm going to avail 10 kilograms of Saba banana because the price is not too high. So, in short, when there is change in price, there is also a change in quantity supplied. This graph states that the supply to is relatively inelastic. A change in price result in a slight change in quantity supplied. For example, I avail 9 kilograms of banana in my supplier. So, as you can see, in the first place, I ordered 10 kilograms, but there's a change of quantity supplied. And it's possible that I'm going to change the price of the banana queue that I'm going to supply in canteen. So, in short, when there is a change in price, and of course the quantity supplied, it's possible to also the price will change and the quantity supplied will change as well, but slightly. In this graph, S3 is perfectly elastic at a given price. Quantity supplied may change infinitely, meaning the price is still 50 kilograms. So, it said that quantity supplied may change infinitely because the supply is increased. So, I am the buyer of banana from the supplier. For example, in the first day, I ordered 10 kilograms and per kilogram is still 50 pesos. So, in the next week or next days, I'm going to avail again another kilograms of saba because the price is still the same, which is 50 kilograms. So, in short, it's possible to change in quantity supplied based on the supply they have. And this is the last graph in price elasticity of supply. State that S4 is perfectly inelastic at any price. Quantity supplied remains constant or QS is equal to 0. This is what happened. For example, the price of Saba banana from the suppliers 50 kilogram, 60 per kilogram, 40, 30, any price. So, the quantity supplied is still constant. Why? Because the supply is perfectly inelastic. The supply is experiencing shortage, I think. So, for example, you avail 50 kilograms in first week. In the next week, if you order again, he will give you another 50 kilograms because the quantity supplied is constant and the suppliers is experiencing shortage of supply. That's why we call this graph a perfectly inelastic when it comes in supply. I hope you've learned a lot from our previous topic, and at this moment, it's time to talk about projecting the future. Important decisions of what and how many goods to produce depend very much on the entrepreneur's estimate of future demand because we can't please everyone and their tastes and preferences are dynamic, so better to project the future in every businesses. We have two methods of making a forecast. First and foremost is what we call average arithmetical growth rate method. This is computed by getting the sum of the percentage changes divided by the number of period covered. And this is the best table to explain this method. And we're going to proceed on the computation, the most exciting part of this method. So now average growth rate is equal to 175.67. 175.67 is the total average growth rate over 8 the total years from the 1985 to 1993. So the result will be 21.96%. 21.96% is the average growth rate in that year. And now let's apply this method by projecting the sales in 1994 as simple multiplying the sale in 1993 52.7 times 21.96%, and the result will be 11.57%. 11.57% is the average growth rate in the year of 1994. And of course, the sale in 1994 is 64.27 million. Just add the sale in 1993 to the total growth rate in 1994. So now we have 64.27 million. And now let's proceed in 1995. A simple multiplying the sales in 1994 to 21.96, the average growth rate, and the result will be 14.11, and that is the average growth rate percentage in year 1995. And of course, the sale in 1995 is 78.38 million, and that is just by adding the average growth rate to 64.27, the sale in 1994. So we have 78.38 million sale in 1995. So very easy. Am I right? So I think the year 1996 and so on, you can get it by your own effort. And this is the last method of making a forecast. And this is what we call trend line using least squares regression method. Use method of computing long-term method or trend of a time series. Equation. Year 1 equals A plus BX, where A equals elasticity Y over N and B equals elasticity XY elasticity over elasticity X squared. And this is the best sample of this method. Historical sales figures of company X. And we're going to summarize it. The total X value is 0. The total sales year 1985 to 1993, 272.60 million, and XY 77.7, and the X squared is 60. So now we can substitute our values based on the table. Again, our equation is Y1 equals A plus BX, where A elasticity Y over N and equals 272.60. 272.60 is the total sales in 1985 to 1993 over 9, the total number of years, and the result will be 30.29. And this is the value B, elasticity of X and Y over elasticity X squared, equals 77.7. 77.7 is the total XY over 60. The 60 is the total X squared. So the result will be 1.30. So we have now a value of A, which is 30.21, and B, the value of B rather, is 1.30. So now we can compute our forecast for year 1986 and 1987. Since the last year, 1985, in our tables given an X value of 4. So the value for 1986 and 1987 should be 5 and 6 respectively. Our forecast for 1986 and 1987 would be computed thus. Year 86 or Y86 equals 30.29, the value of A, plus 1.30, the value of B, open and close parenthesis, 5. That 5 is the value for 1986. And of course, the result will be 36.79. The 36.79 is the sale in 1986, and let's proceed in 1987. So, simply adding the 30.29, the value of A, plus 1.30, the value of B, open parenthesis 6, and close parenthesis 6 is the value in X in the year of 1987. So, the result will be 38.9 per million rather is the sale in 1987. So now, after all these computations, we can graph in actual sales and the trade line and the projection. So The result of 1986 is 36.79 million, and the results in sales in 1987 is 38.9 million. That is the sales value of the year 1986 and 1987 by the second method, which is trend line using the least squares regression method.
In summary, price elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price. It is measured by dividing the percentage change in quantity demanded by the percentage change in price. There are two measures of price elasticity. First is arc elasticity, and next is point elasticity. In comparison, we can say that elastic are percentage change in quantity that is higher than the percentage change in price. Ang coefficient niya ay more than 1, while inelastic is the percentage change in quantity that is lesser than change in price. Kaya naman, ang elastic coefficient niya is less than 1. While unitary is the quantity that is proportionate with change in price. Elastic coefficient is equal to 1. We have three factors of substitution. First is the number of competing products. Second, desirability of a product relative to its substitute due to quality. And third is the relative importance of consumers' needs. Consumption line is the curve connecting the points of tangency that represents the consumption of any two given commodities at varying levels of income. Income elasticity of demand measures a product's percentage change in demand as a ratio of percentage in income, which causes the shift in the demand curve. We also have Engel's law. It is the law that states that when income increases, the percentage that is spent for food tends to decrease. Here are the underlying reasons for the change in relative importance of the commodity items as income continues to increase. First is the gradual satisfaction of the consumer's hierarchy of needs from basic to non-basic. And second is the law or theory of diminishing marginal utility. We have two methods in making a forecast. First is average arithmetical growth rate method, and in summary, price elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price. It is measured by dividing the percentage change in quantity